Many people are asking the question, how do we defeat the Great Reset? What can we do to stop this dystopian nightmare? And my answer is very simple. Just do the opposite of what they want you to do. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Yolanda Melody. This video is a follow-up from last week's video where I talked about how minimalism is heavily connected with Klaus Schwab and his plans for us to own nothing and be happy. The World Economic Forum not only wants us to hand over our homes and our cars, but they also want us to hand over all of our possessions as well. What a great bunch of people. Anyway, this subject, while it may seem very scary, and it may put a lot of people in the position where they think that they're powerless, in this video I'm going to give you practical tips on how you can rebel against all of this Great Reset bullshit. And while some of these tips may seem little and insignificant, believe me, it all adds up to the greater picture, and it's all of these small little actions that will contribute to what happens in our future. Believe it or not, I actually come from a family of hoarders. Prepping is a thing that has been ingrained into me at this point, but you wouldn't suspect that from looking at my aesthetic. If you look at my general style of decor, you would think this girl is probably a minimalist. Well, I believe that you can be the best of both. I believe that you can have a minimalist aesthetic, you can have the peace of mind it brings from having an environment that is tidy, that is clean, that isn't cluttered, but you can also hoard and prep if you do it smart. Right, so here are my tips. Bear in mind that this is not only to do with prepping, but it is also jam-packed with advice on how to save money while doing so. One of my goals to break free of this system is to get it to the point where everything that I own it outright. For this reason, I've never taken on a finance deal for anything. I've also never owned a credit card because I believe that subscriptions and things that you have to pay on a monthly basis are, first off, a one-way ticket to getting into debt for a lot of people because it creeps up on you, but also it stops you from being able to be free of this system. It keeps you tied down. Now, I understand that there are certain things that people cannot avoid paying finance for. Most people have a mortgage, for example. Not a lot of people have the ability to buy a house outright. So that's one big monthly payment that a lot of people are roped into. A lot of people also pay monthly to own their car. I've never done that personally. I've always bought my car outright for a really cheap price. Like, my car was very cheap. What I would recommend is to eliminate subscriptions. If you are paying a subscription fee for something, really sit down and assess whether you really need it or not and whether there's another way to obtain what you want without paying the subscription fee. Most people pay a subscription for a multitude of things, and like I said before, it creeps up on you. You think to yourself, oh, this is only £5 a month, this is only a few pounds, it's basically nothing, but all of these things add up. I'll give you a prime example. Amazon Prime. A lot of people pay for Amazon Prime because you get free next day delivery and so that you can watch movies on Prime. But I personally think that it's a complete waste of money because, first off, if you spend over £20 on Amazon, you get automatic free delivery anyway, which sometimes for me, the delivery has literally arrived next day. So that's free next day delivery. And if you actually look on Amazon Prime, most of the movies are not free. I was completely baffled to know that people pay monthly for a streaming service where most of the movies you have to buy or rent anyway. You have to ask yourself, what are you actually paying for? Another thing is phone subscriptions. A lot of people get the latest iPhone, they sign a 2-year contract, they get a terrible deal, and then they keep renewing it and getting upgrades every 2 years. When I was 18, I got roped into a 2-year contract for my first ever iPhone, and it was a huge regret. I won't go into the details of it, but I basically got scammed beyond belief because I was young and naive and I didn't really calculate how terrible that deal was. But after that contract ended, I vowed that what I would do is I would buy the phone outright and get a SIM-only contract. Now, I know that a lot of people will be watching this thinking, why are you promoting things like Amazon and the iPhone? You should be boycotting all of these companies. Yeah, I should. But I have to bear in mind that a lot of people aren't there yet. For all those people watching that have got rid of their smartphone altogether and they dare not buy anything from Amazon, massive creds to you. Seriously. Because that is what everyone should be doing. But if you only give people an extreme option and you don't give them some kind of middle ground, then people will just continue to be in this blind slumber because the standards that they're being expected to uphold, they just can't meet them. So there's that disclaimer. So that's ticked off the list. No more subscriptions. Try and get rid of them as much as you can. I actually see it like a little challenge now. Like sometimes I'll just look at what my outgoings are and I'll think, how can I eliminate this expense that is holding me back? Which leads me on to the next thing. Take a look at how many things that you have that are disposable, that you have to keep buying, and try and find alternatives that you only have to buy once. I'll give you a tiny example. And don't judge this example just because it's so small and insignificant. Because believe me, if you adopt this mindset for all of these things, you will save so much money in the long run, and ultimately, the less things that you have to keep buying, the closer you become to being self-sufficient and separating yourself from this system, right? So, what is this? This is a mirror cleaning kit, right? You put water on this, you wipe the mirror, and then you wipe it down with the green one. I bought this item once. I will probably keep it for the rest of my life until it's raggedy and falls apart. I am a little bit obsessed with cleaning, and for a few years I used to use this Windoline or Mr. Muscle spray, and I really hated using it because I knew that it had all these chemicals that were giving me headaches. I couldn't stand breathing this horrible toxic chemical smell. And then it was suggested to me to buy this magic mirror set, right? And I'm telling you now, it works better than anything I've ever used. Not only that, but it's chemical free. Not only that, but I don't have to buy any products anymore. That's one thing ticked off the list. When you look at the items that you use on a day-to-day basis, I bet you any money you can find sustainable. I hate that word now. When I say sustainable, what I mean is sustainable for you. I've never really been a fan of wasting things. I don't like wasting food. I don't like wasting anything. And for me, if I can find something that I only have to buy once that's reusable, it's a win-win. And it defeats the Great Reset because they want you to keep buying things. And what are they gonna do? Come into my house and take my window cleaner? I don't think so. Okay, this is another thing. When it comes to prepping, I have found that prepping not only saves you money in the long run, but it's also quite essential. You never know when things are going to kick off again, like big time. When shit really hits the fan, who do you think's going to be laughing? The people who prepped, or the people who said, oh no, that's a stupid idea? But when you prep, you've got to prep smart. So obviously, things that have a sell-by date, you have to evaluate whether or not it's essential to prep, whether it is even feasible to prep. For example, obviously, things like fruit and vegetables you can't prep, but tinned goods, dried foods, things that have a very long sell-by date, you can prep that. And there are some mainstream media articles that say that prepping is a silly idea because a lot of people have done that and now all the food's gone off. Well, if you utilise stock rotation, that should not happen. And if you only prep with foods that you actually do eat, then I don't know how prepping could be a bad idea. Another reason why prepping is good is because inflation. If there's items that you know that you're always going to use or eat, it's wise to stock up on them now because they're only going to increase in price in the future. And what I also do is I'll stock up on things and then I'll wait, like a crouching tiger, waiting for its prey. And I will wait for the item to go on sale, and then I will bulk buy, which leads me on to the next thing. Only buy when things are discounted or cheap, and try to avoid buying things at full price. Again, while most people look at subscription and finance and think that they're getting a good deal because they're looking in the short term, the wise way to do things, if you have the means to do so, is to buy in bulk now, make the big payment now, and you will save money in the future. Again, I must stress, only if you have the means to do so. Everyone's situation is different. And of course, I have to include this tip in here because it's just so important. Use cash wherever you can. Boycott any company that requires you to have a QR code in order to shop with them, or an app. If anything is going to usher in the Great Reset, it's going to be digital currency, which runs hand in hand with apps, QR codes, and the simplest, easiest thing that you can do right now is to continue to use cash. As much as it's a little inconvenient and it's a bit faffy, you do not want us to be living in a digital currency situation. And if you want to know more about that, I've done 2 videos. One of them is about Bitcoin, the other one is about digital currency in general and the repercussions of what will actually happen if they implement digital currency. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my tips. I know that some of them weren't groundbreaking or, you know, like a huge epiphany, but I just think that it's the little actions that we do that all add up to the bigger picture. Like I said earlier. Thank you so much to everyone who donates to this channel, who supports this channel, and thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing so that these videos can reach more people. Love you, bye!